1. The way of compassion, silence as the source of truth. A gentle autumn breeze whispered through the verdant bamboo forest where two Zen masters, Linji and Fenglin, were deep in conversation. Fenglin, his eyes bright like the stars at night, respectfully folded his hands and said, "Master Linji, I have a burning question that I hope you can help me answer." Linji smiled, his eyes narrowing with a hint of mystery. "Fenglin, your poetic talent is known far and wide, but I suspect your question is not as simple as a poem, is it?" Fenglin nodded slightly and began to recite softly. "The moon in the sea has no shadow. A solitary fish swims in a dream. The moon reflected in the sea has no form. The fish swims in the water lost in itself." Linji listened, tapping the stone bench rhythmically, then responded, "The sea moon indeed has no shadow. How could the fish be lost? The moon reflected in the sea has no form. The fish swims in the water. Why should it be lost?" Fenglin continued, his voice deepening with the verse. "Watching the wind, waves rise. Playing in the water, the boat drifts. Observing the wind, waves rise. Playing in the water, one floats along." Linji replied, his words flowing like a cool stream. "The solitary wheel reflects the stillness of the mountains and rivers, a howl piercing the autumn sky. The moon illuminates the tranquil mountains and rivers, one long howl heralds the autumn." Fenglin, increasingly engrossed, asked again, "With 3 inches of tongue, create heaven and earth. With one phrase from Linji, observe the way. Using 3 inches of tongue to create the universe, one phrase from Linji reveals the way." Linji laughed softly and answered, "When you meet a swordsman, show him your sword. If not a poet, do not offer a poem. Meeting a swordsman, draw your sword. If not a poet, refrain from poetry." Fenglin fell silent, a moment of clarity dawning within him. Seeing this, Linji continued to chant, "The great way is not the same, whether heading east or west. The fire of a flint does not compare, nor does the light of lightning. The great way differs. Heading east or west, the fire of a flint cannot match, nor can lightning follow." This story later reached Zen master Weshan, who brought his inquiry to Zen master Yangshan, asking, "Its speed surpasses even the fire of a flint and the light of lightning. How did the ancient sages teach such rapid comprehension?" Yangshan smiled and asked in return, "What is your true intention?" Weshan replied, "I merely wish to express it with no other intention." Yangshan said, "I don't believe that's the case. Every word spoken is Buddha's teaching. All Buddha's teachings originate from the mind. When the mind moves, it pervades all 10 directions. The fire of a flint, the light of lightning, none is quicker than the mind." Weshan, nodding in agreement, exclaimed, "Indeed, the sea moon is wondrous, the fish swimming is wondrous, the wind and waves are wondrous, the drifting boat is wondrous, the silent mountains and rivers, the desolate autumn sky. Poet and swordsman, meeting in the world, all within the heart. What does it matter if one is confused or enlightened? What relevance is speed?" The dialogue between Linji and Fenglin illustrates that in Zen practice, questions and answers are not mere exchanges of information, but a method of spiritual training, a way to awaken the mind. Sometimes the answer does not directly address the question, but rather opens a path for the questioner to find the truth themselves. Furthermore, the story emphasizes the importance of the mind. The mind is the source of all phenomena. When the mind is silent, we can truly understand the essence of life. Ultimately, the story reminds us that the way is not far off but present in everyday life. With a clear mind, observing all things, we will find the way in every moment of our lives. 2. The essence lies within. As the golden hues of dusk bathed the roof of Jiao San Temple, the wise and venerable Zen master Tian Hoi was in deep discussion with his disciples. Among them was a young monk, eager to uncover the truth, who boldly stepped forward and asked, "Master, I have a question that troubles me. Since ancient times, the patriarchs have left their teachings for future generations. Why do you teach without words?" Tian Hoi smiled gently, his gaze encompassing the universe, and replied, "If you haven't eaten for 3 days and don't feel hungry, is there anything to worry about?" The young monk was puzzled. "But if I don't feel hungry, does that mean I am enlightened?" The Zen master shook his head. "You are still lost in the labyrinth of your own mind. Listen to this verse. Clearly there is no law to enlighten. Enlighten the law and be lost again. Stretch out your legs and sleep. No pretense, no reality." The young monk grew even more confused. "But Master, the teachings of the 12 divisions and the patriarchs from the West are from enlightened beings. Why do you say there is no law to enlighten and no one to be lost?" Tian Hoi explained patiently. "The teachings from the West are my meditation. Why not ask your own mind?" The young monk admitted, "I do not understand what my own mind is. I just want to know which method you use to teach enlightenment." Tian Hoi pointed to the emptiness. "There is no nail in the void, yet you want to weave thread into it. Why do you insist on adding legs to a snake?" The young monk shook his head. "I don't understand." Tian Hoi sighed. "To my view, the virtuous practices of the layman Vimalakirti and the teachings of Buddha Shakyamuni are all unnecessary." The young monk exclaimed, "Master, do you mean the teachings of the sages are useless?" Tian Hoi smiled. "Anything that can be acquired is not a sage's teaching." The young monk grew more perplexed. "If you teach without words, how can I attain enlightenment?" Tian Hoi looked deeply into his disciple's eyes. "Your own mind from the West does not need anyone else's teachings." The master's words struck the young monk like a lightning bolt in the night, dispelling all confusion from his mind. He suddenly realized that the truth does not lie in mere words, but in inner realization. The story of Zen master Tian Hoi and the young monk reminds us that truth is not found in eloquent teachings, but through personal experience and enlightenment. Sometimes, silence is the most profound teaching, allowing us to reflect inwardly and find true peace. As Buddha Shakyamuni once said, "I've never uttered a single word, for the truth cannot be expressed in words but can only be felt with the heart." 3. Seeking the Buddha within. The truth lies in every heart. One day, Zen master Ling Yuan decided to visit Zen master Guizong, bringing with him a deep sense of respect and curiosity. They met in a tranquil garden where birdsong echoed and a gentle breeze rustled through the trees. After exchanging greetings, Ling Yuan, unable to contain his curiosity, asked, "Master, what is the Buddha?" Guizong, upon hearing this, pondered for a moment. With profound and kind eyes, he replied, "It cannot be explained. Even if I tell you, you wouldn't believe it." Ling Yuan felt a surge of disappointment, but also a strong determination. He looked into Guizong's eyes and said sincerely, "No, master, I ask you with all my heart, how could I not believe your words?" Guizong studied Ling Yuan for a long moment before nodding, recognizing the determination in Ling Yuan's gaze. "All right," he said, "if you truly believe, come closer, and I will tell you." As Ling Yuan moved closer, Guizong leaned in and whispered, "You are the Buddha." At first, Ling Yuan was stunned, almost unable to believe his ears, but then a smile spread across his face and he burst into laughter. "I am the Buddha! I am the Buddha!" His laughter resonated throughout the garden as if he had discovered the truth of his life. His heart filled with joy and relief, as though an invisible burden had been lifted from his shoulders. This story carries a profound message for us. Seeking truth outside ourselves is like searching for a donkey while riding one, or looking for fish in the ocean. In reality, each of us possesses Buddha nature from birth. The Buddha is within you. There is no need to seek afar. The sacred mountain is in your heart. We must not overlook the sacred mountain within, but instead cultivate and discover the treasure of our true nature within ourselves. The story of Zen masters Ling Yuan and Guizhong teaches us a valuable lesson. Everything we seek is within us. Enlightenment is not beyond our reach, but something we can find within ourselves. The key is to have faith in ourselves, believing that we can find peace and happiness in our own hearts and souls. Only then can we truly understand and appreciate the real value of life.
If you like this video, please comment 1. And if you don't, comment 2. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.
4. Living fully in the present. The secret to happiness and peace. In a mystical village nestled among the clouds on a high mountain peak, there lay a serene Zen temple, hidden like a precious gem. This temple was home to a renowned Zen master known for his profound wisdom and boundless compassion, named Thich Tam. One day, a young man burdened with heavy thoughts came to the master, his eyes filled with worries about the cycle of life and death. "Master," the young man respectfully bowed his head, "I am haunted by questions about life and death. I don't know what will happen when I die, if I will still exist or not. Please, enlighten me." Master Thich Tam smiled kindly, his gaze penetrating the young man's soul. He gently asked, "Have you ever died?" The young man, puzzled, replied, "I have not." Master Thich Tam interrupted, "If you have never died, how can you know what death is? How can you understand life if you have never experienced death?" The young man fell silent, contemplating the master's words. After a moment he asked, "So, have you ever died, master?" Master Thich Tam shook his head. "I have not died either, but I do not worry about it. I live fully in each moment without concern for the past or the future." The young man felt enlightened. He realized he had been too focused on unanswerable questions about death, forgetting how to live fully in the present. Bowing deeply, he expressed his gratitude to the master. From that day on, the young man said, "I will no longer be concerned about things I have not experienced. I will live fully in the present, cherishing every moment." Master Thich Tam smiled, placing a hand on the young man's shoulder. "You have understood," he said. "This is the Zen of no thought, the Zen of not clinging to illusions. Live as if you have never lived, die as if you have never died. That is the true way of living." The young man left with a heart as light as if a burden had been lifted. Walking down the mountain path, he enjoyed every warm ray of sunshine, every refreshing breeze. He knew he had found the answer to life's greatest question. The story of Master Thich Tam and the young man teaches us a valuable lesson about living. Do not waste time on idle thoughts about the future or the past. Live fully in each moment, appreciating what you have. Only by living as if you have never lived and dying as if you have never died can you achieve true peace and happiness. 5. Meditation is a journey back to oneself. Under the ancient temple's roof, the golden afternoon sunlight poured over the moss-covered tiles. In that serene space, the sound of footsteps echoed. These belonged to a man named Tim. Tim wasn't a devout Buddhist, but his heart was always filled with an unceasing curiosity about meditation. He had sought guidance from numerous masters and read countless scriptures. Yet, the answer to what meditation truly was remained elusive. Today, Tim came with a last glimmer of hope. He walked through the temple gate, his mind heavy with questions. Inside the main hall, a meditation master sat in deep contemplation, his figure blending seamlessly with the surroundings. Tim bowed respectfully and earnestly asked, "Master, what is meditation?" The master slowly opened his eyes, which shone like stars in the night sky. He smiled kindly and replied, "Meditation is everything." Tim furrowed his brows, dissatisfied with the vague answer. He pressed on, "So what isn't meditation?" The master maintained his serene smile and responded, "Nothing is not meditation." Tim grew more confused, feeling as though he was in a labyrinth with no exit. Desperately, he asked another question. Then how can one distinguish between what is meditation and what isn't? The master looked deeply into Tim's eyes and slowly said, "When you believe it is meditation, it is meditation. When you believe it is not, it is not." Upon hearing this, Tim felt a sense of helplessness rise within him. He thought the master was deliberately playing with his mind. Unable to hold back, he blurted out, "How can meditation be so easily defined by whether I think it is or isn't?" The master remained unperturbed, gently answering, "When you no longer think it is or isn't, how will you distinguish?" Tim was stunned. The master's words struck him like a lightning bolt piercing through the dark night of his mind. He realized he had been too focused on finding a concrete definition of meditation, forgetting that meditation is not a concept but a state of mind. Tim bowed in gratitude and quietly left the temple. On his way home, he felt a sense of lightness, as if a burden had been lifted from his shoulders. He understood that meditation is not something to be found outside, but something to be discovered within oneself. The story of Tim and the master teaches us a valuable lesson about meditation. Meditation is not a lofty philosophy or a complex practice. It is simply a return to oneself, a letting go of all distinctions to achieve a state of calm and freedom. To practice meditation, we don't need to visit temples or seek out masters. We can meditate anywhere, anytime, as long as we have a quiet mind and an open heart. Meditation is not a destination, but a journey. This journey may be challenging, but is also full of wonders and surprises. And when we truly understand meditation, we will realize that meditation is life, and life is meditation. 6. Patience and faith, a lesson from the clear stream. The scorching sun beat down mercilessly on the rough dirt road, stirring up clouds of dust with each step Buddha and his disciple Ananda took. Buddha's throat was parched, and he softly spoke, "Ananda, I am very thirsty. I believe we just passed a small stream, didn't we? Can you fetch me some water?" Obediently, Ananda took a chipped silver jug and eagerly retraced their steps to find the stream. When he arrived, he was stunned. The once clear water was now muddy, filled with floating branches and leaves. A caravan of merchants had just let their horses wade through the stream. Disheartened, Ananda returned and shook his head at Buddha, saying, "Master, the water has been muddied by the merchants. It's not drinkable anymore." Buddha smiled kindly. "Is that so? Then let's continue a bit further. I remember another stream ahead, with clear and cool water." Ananda hesitated, "But that stream is a 2-hour walk from here. Are you very thirsty, Master? Perhaps we should return to the old stream. Maybe the water has settled and cleared by now." "Ananda, just go and see. I believe it won't be a waste of effort," Buddha encouraged. Although filled with doubt, Ananda obeyed. He trudged back, silently cursing the thoughtless merchants and wondering why Buddha hadn't chosen to walk a bit further initially to find clean water. But when he arrived at the stream, Ananda couldn't believe his eyes. The water was once again crystal clear, sparkling like emeralds under the sun, with glistening sands invitingly visible at the bottom. Overjoyed, Ananda filled the jug and hurried back to Buddha, exclaiming, "Master, Master, the water is clear now." Buddha took the jug and slowly sipped the water. He looked at Ananda with understanding in his eyes and said, "Ananda, do you see? Life is like this stream, sometimes muddy, sometimes clear. The key is to have patience, to wait for things to settle so we can see their true nature." Ananda bowed his head, deeply admiring Buddha's wisdom. He had learned a valuable lesson about patience and faith, faith that after the murkiness, clarity would return. The story of Buddha and his disciple Ananda reminds us that life is full of ups and downs, challenges and difficulties. But if we are patient and keep our faith, things will eventually clear up, just like the muddy water settling into clarity. This story also teaches us the importance of observation and perception. Sometimes what we see is just a temporary illusion. Only by being patient and observant can we understand the true essence of things. Live more slowly, wait patiently, and trust in the goodness of life, and you will find peace and happiness. 7. Sincerity and awareness. The essence of true practice. The crisp autumn breeze blew through the ancient temple where Master Longjia of Dongshan was meditating in peace. Suddenly the sound of the temple bell echoed, signaling the arrival of a distinguished guest. A young monk with a serene demeanor stepped into the main hall. "Amitabha, Master Longjia," he greeted with clasped hands. "May I ask where you have traveled from?" Master Longjia inquired warmly. The young monk respectfully replied, "I am Dao Ying, from Tui Temple, here to seek your guidance." Tui Temple is far away. How is Master Tui? Has he imparted any new teachings to his disciples? Master Longjia asked with genuine interest. Dao Ying smiled and recounted, "Every new year, Tui Temple holds a grand ceremony to honor the 16 Arhats. I once wondered if they actually attend such elaborate offerings." My master simply smiled and asked, "What do you eat every day?" I pondered his question but couldn't grasp its meaning. Hearing this, Master Longjia's eyes sparkled with intrigue. "Oh, did Master Tui really say that?" "Yes, he did," Dao Ying confirmed. Master Longjia paused for a moment before asking, "Dao Ying, what do you eat every day?" Without hesitation, Dao Ying replied, "I eat rice and drink water, Master." "Eat rice and drink water? Ah, you have understood your master's lesson," Master Longjia said, bursting into laughter and clapping his hands in approval. Dao Ying suddenly realized the wisdom behind his master's words and bowed in gratitude. "Thank you, Master, for enlightening me." Master Longjia gazed out the window at the serene village illuminated by the autumn moon. He spoke slowly. "Confucius once taught that we should offer sacrifices as if the deities were present. It doesn't matter if the deities come. What matters is the sincerity of the one offering. Similarly, in practice, it is not about reaching a certain level of attainment, but about truly letting go of attachments and living fully in each moment." Dao Ying listened quietly, filled with gratitude. He had found answers to his long-standing doubts and understood the deeper meaning of eating rice and drinking water. This story reminds us of the true significance of offerings and practice. It is not the external form, but the inner sincerity and enlightenment that matter most. Like eating rice and drinking water every day, if we cherish each moment, living mindfully and peacefully, we are on the path of true practice. Just as the sound of the ceremonial drum reverberates through the air, this story will resonate in our hearts, reminding us of the value of sincerity and awareness in life. If you find these stories inspiring and they motivate you to take action, please comment 9. If not, comment 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time. 8. Liberation from divisive thoughts. As the sun set, painting the sacred land in hues of red, Zen Master Van Man, with a soul yearning for truth, traveled a long distance to visit the temple of Zen Master Muk Chow. Before him stood a towering wooden gate, closed like the mysteries of life. Van Man gently knocked, and the sound echoed in the stillness. Time seemed to stand still as he waited anxiously. Finally, the heavy gate creaked open, revealing the figure of Zen Master Muk Chow, his face weathered but his eyes shining with wisdom. "Greetings, Master," Van Man bowed respectfully. "I have come seeking your teachings." Muk Chow nodded slightly, but as Van Man stepped through the threshold, the gate suddenly slammed shut. A cry of pain rang out as Van Man clutched his foot, his face contorted with pain. "Ouch, that hurts!" Van Man exclaimed. Zen Master Muk Chow looked at him, his voice calm and deep. "Who is crying out in pain?" "Master, it is I," Van Man replied, his face full of agony. "Where are you?" Muk Chow asked. "I am outside the gate," Van Man answered. "Then why are you crying out in pain?" Muk Chow inquired. "Because you closed the gate on my foot," Van Man said, tears welling up. "Your foot is inside the gate, but you are outside. Why are you feeling pain?" Muk Chow continued his questioning. Van Man was bewildered, pondering deeply. He realized he had been split into two parts, his foot inside, his body outside. But why this division? Wasn't he a unified whole? "Indeed, I have been divided into inside and outside," Van Man said, his voice confused. Zen Master Muk Chow smiled. "You fool! How can a person be divided into inside and outside?" Muk Chow's words struck Van Man like a bolt of lightning. Suddenly enlightened, he understood that all divisions in this world are illusions. Inside and outside, you and me, good and evil, big and small, all are concepts created by humans. Van Man bowed, his heart filled with gratitude. He had found the truth he had long sought. Though his foot still ached, his soul was freed from the bonds of worldly distinctions. The story of Zen Master Van Man and Muk Chow carries a profound lesson on enlightenment and liberation. We often find ourselves trapped in divisive thoughts, fragmenting the world into pieces. But in reality, everything is a unified whole. When we realize this, we free ourselves from suffering and find true peace and happiness. The story also reminds us that sometimes painful experiences are opportunities for growth and enlightenment. Van Man's foot was caught in the gate, but through that pain, he discovered the truth and achieved liberation. Life is full of challenges and difficulties, but if we learn to perceive and overcome them, we will find the true meaning and value of life. 9. The power of a pure mind, the true source of freedom and peace. Once upon a time, there was a sage named Tripitaka from the distant land of India, proud of his extraordinary supernatural powers. He decided to visit the Zen master Huizhong to test his abilities. Master Huizhong, known for his humility and gentleness, welcomed Tripitaka and asked, "I've heard you can read the minds of others. Is that true?" Tripitaka confidently replied, "It's just a small trick." Huizhong smiled and then challenged Tripitaka with a thought, "Tell me where my mind is now." Tripitaka closed his eyes, using his powers to investigate. After a while, he opened his eyes and said, "The high mountain meets the sky, the small river flows." Huizhong nodded in approval and changed his thought. "Now tell me where my body is." Tripitaka focused again. This time he laughed and said, "How did the Zen master end up playing with monkeys in the mountains?" Indeed, that was the case. Huizhong laughed cheerfully and expressed his admiration. However, he decided to test Tripitaka one more time. Huizhong entered a deep meditative state, devoid of ego, person, worldly scenes, and movement. He smiled inwardly and asked, "Where am I now?" Tripitaka used all his power to search heaven and earth, but all he saw was a clear sky without clouds, a pond without the moon, the world without shadows, and a mirror without reflections. He couldn't find any trace of Huizhong's mind. Admitting defeat, Tripitaka watched as Huizhong slowly came out of his meditation. Smiling, Huizhong said, "Your mind-reading abilities are indeed impressive, but you couldn't see my mind state. Do you know why?" Perplexed, Tripitaka shook his head. Huizhong laughed and explained, "Because I had no thoughts at all. Without any, how could you read them? A true practitioner withdraws their body and mind, reducing idle thoughts. When idle thoughts diminish, behavior becomes righteous, and the heart grows compassionate. The strong become gentle, the foolish gain wisdom, and the mind becomes pure, untainted by even a speck of dust. When reciting the Buddha's name without idle thoughts, no distractions arise, and the true essence remains intact." The lesson from this story is clear. As long as we have thoughts, others can potentially read them. Only a mind free from external attachments, unburdened by worldly concerns, remains beyond others' understanding. When the mind reaches complete purity, free from idle thoughts, that is when true freedom and peace are achieved. The tale of Tripitaka and Zen master Huizhong imparts a profound lesson about the power of a pure mind. Despite his vast supernatural abilities, Tripitaka could not grasp Huizhong's mind when he was in deep meditation, free from worldly thoughts. This demonstrates that only when the mind is not influenced by external factors and idle thoughts can we attain true tranquility. This lesson reminds us that in a world full of turmoil, training our minds to reach a state free from external influences is essential. When our minds are no longer disturbed by desires, worries, or anger, we achieve inner peace, clear wisdom, and vast compassion. This is the path to true happiness and liberation. Moreover, the story serves as a caution to those overly confident in their abilities, neglecting the cultivation of the mind. No matter how talented, if we do not control negative thoughts, they will lead us astray. Only with a pure mind can we objectively and wisely perceive everything, making the right decisions. 10. Persistence and determination. Open the door to enlightenment. During the time of Gautama Buddha, there was a disciple named Bandaka. Bandaka was known for his slow learning and difficulty in understanding teachings. The Buddha, with infinite compassion, assigned 500 arhats to teach Bandaka every day. Despite the dedicated efforts of the arhats, Bandaka showed no signs of improvement. Observing Bandaka's slow progress, the Buddha did not lose heart. He called Bandaka to him and taught him a simple verse: "Guard your mouth, mind your thoughts, let your body not commit wrong. A practitioner who does so will find the path to liberation." The meaning of the verse is as follows: "Guard your mouth, mind your thoughts, and let your body not commit wrong," emphasizes the importance of self-control, self-discipline, not only in speech but also in thoughts and actions. A practitioner who does so will find the path to liberation, affirms that maintaining purity in speech, thoughts, and actions will lead one to liberation and enlightenment. The Buddha gently advised Bandaka, "Do not underestimate these simple words. You only need to persist in learning this verse. It's not an easy task. Let it sink into your mind and actions." Meditation does not rely on words but entirely on internal understanding. A true practitioner cannot be deceitful. Just persistently cultivate both body and mind, and your spirit will naturally elevate. When the conditions are ripe, the practitioner will naturally realize the true nature of their mind. Meditation does not require extensive study, but rather deep insight into even a single teaching. Bandaka diligently repeated the verse, day after day, never giving up. Eventually, one day, he suddenly understood its profound meaning. One day, the Buddha instructed Bandaka to go to a nearby group of monks and nuns to teach them. The monks and nuns, aware of Bandaka's reputation as slow-witted, secretly wondered, "Can this fool really teach us anything?" Nevertheless, they received Bandaka with respect. Feeling humble, Bandaka said to the monks and nuns, "I was born slow-witted, but I learned a verse from the Buddha. Now, I will share it with you." Bandaka began reciting the verse. Initially, the monks and nuns chuckled, whispering, "It's just a simple verse we all know by heart. What could he possibly teach us?" However, Bandaka remained composed and continued teaching. He spoke clearly and articulately, uncovering new meanings from what seemed to be a basic verse. Bandaka illuminated deep and boundless meditation principles. The monks and nuns became captivated, silently praising. Such profound understanding from a basic verse, truly an exceptional teacher. They began to respect Bandaka deeply. Meditation is a profound experience of the soul. Although its path is intangible and not easily overcome, once one achieves enlightenment, crossing that threshold reveals a true state that profoundly moves the individual. Learning is not about quantity but the quality of practice. Mere verbal intelligence cannot yield substantial fruits. Many seemingly ordinary sayings hold deep truths. Persistence and determination are the keys to unlocking the doors of wisdom and enlightenment. Serendipitous encounters and experiences hold significant meaning if we cherish and learn from them. 11. True enlightenment is a personal journey that cannot be borrowed. In a serene temple nestled deep within a lush forest, there were two monks studying and practicing their teachings. Although they shared a small abode, their differing schedules and duties meant they rarely crossed paths. One evening, as the sun began to set, casting a golden glow across the forest, they happened to meet. The monk who resided in the upper quarters with a joyful expression approached the monk from the lower quarters and asked, "It's been a while since we last met. What have you been busy with lately?" The monk from the lower quarters gently smiled and replied, "I've been occupied with building a tower without any gaps." Hearing this, the monk from the upper quarters enthusiastically said, "That's wonderful. I've been wanting to build such a tower myself. Could you show me your tower?" With a mysterious smile, the monk from the lower quarters replied, "Unfortunately, I've already lent my gapless tower to someone else." The monk from the upper quarters, still confident, said, "No worries, just a quick glimpse will do." The monk from the lower quarters then explained, "The gapless tower I spoke of isn't a physical structure. It's the true nature of all beings. The complete and perfect nature of the Dharma is the real gapless tower. How could there be a more perfect structure than the perfection of the Dharma itself?" The monk from the upper quarters, now deep in thought, asked, "Are you referring to the Dharmakaya, the embodiment of the Buddha's enlightenment as described in the scriptures? Like the Diamond Sutra states, wherever there is this sutra, all the world's gods and people should make offerings. That place is a shrine for the Dharma. Is that correct?" The monk from the lower quarters nodded, his eyes full of wisdom, and responded, "Indeed. One who understands the boundless Dharmakaya knows how to build a gapless tower to honor it. But this understanding cannot be imitated. It must be experienced personally. That's why I said my tower has been borrowed. Their conversation grew profound and philosophical, each word imbued with the essence of Buddhist teachings. Ultimately, they realized that the Buddha is not an external figure but an awakening within one's own heart. Each of us must turn inward, cultivating our minds and unlocking the treasures within ourselves. The lesson from this story is that enlightenment and wisdom cannot be borrowed or copied from others. It is a personal journey, requiring continuous awareness and effort from each individual. Only through personal understanding and experience can we truly achieve fulfillment and peace.
If you like this video, please comment 1. And if you don't, comment 2. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.
12. Transcending pain and trials to attain true enlightenment. Master Muju Daoming, a disciple of the Zen master Huangbo Shiyun, practiced at the Longxing Temple in present-day Zhejiang, a tranquil area. Known for his rigorous teaching methods, he always emphasized the search for absolute truth. One day, the yet-to-be enlightened Master Yunmen Wenyan approached Muju with a sincere plea for guidance. Upon arriving, Wenyan knocked on the door. From inside, Muju asked, "Who is it?" Wenyan replied, "It's Wenyan, seeking your guidance." Hearing this, Muju opened the door slightly and then slammed it shut. Wenyan was taken aback but remained undeterred, knocking again. The response was the same. The door opened a crack and then closed firmly. On the second day, Wenyan returned with even more determination, only to face the same outcome. On the third day, the situation repeated. Wenyan felt the weight of the closed door pressing on his heart, but refused to give up. On the fourth day, when Muju opened the door, Wenyan had braced himself and thrust his foot inside. Seeing this, Muju opened the door wider, grabbed Wenyan by the collar and demanded, "Speak quickly, what do you want to say?" Before Wenyan could utter a word, Muju pushed him away, saying, "You are as unenlightened as a rotting log, useless." With that, Muju shut the door again, catching Wenyan's foot. The intense pain jolted Wenyan into a moment of profound awakening. In that instant, he realized that enlightenment couldn't be begged for or forced. It must be reached through pain and trials. After being rejected for 3 consecutive days, Wenyan's heart was filled with doubt and a desire for clarity. This intense longing drove him forward. When the door finally opened, it was not just the temple door but the door to spiritual awakening. Muju saw through Wenyan's heart and knew he hadn't truly attained enlightenment. The pain from the door closing on his foot served as a wake-up call, teaching Wenyan that without genuine preparation and understanding, entering the path of Zen would only lead to failure and suffering. The lesson from this story is profound. Enlightenment is not something easily achieved through a few words of guidance or superficial efforts. To truly understand and live by the truth, we must be prepared to endure painful trials and sometimes rejection. It is in these challenging moments that we can find the true light of enlightenment. As Muju said, "If you are not genuinely skilled, why recklessly enter another's domain? Not only will you not gain any benefit, but you will also end up with a miserable outcome. Better to wait until you are truly prepared before knocking on this door again." In life, the first step towards enlightenment is to learn to observe and understand the workings of our own mind. When we can sense our mind, we will be free, unbound by anything. The story of Master Muju and Yunmen Wenyan reminds us that every trial and pain is part of the path to enlightenment. Only by accepting and overcoming these challenges can we attain true truth and freedom. 13. Truth lies in the simplest things in life. In the golden morning light at an ancient Zen monastery, Master Mok Chow, a wise and enlightened teacher with eyes that seemed to hold the ocean of wisdom, called his disciple Tom Chong. Tom, a young man with a burning desire to seek the truth, approached his master with deep respect. "Tom, do you know how to explain the doctrine of consciousness only?" Master Mok Chow asked, his voice warm and resonant like the temple bell. Tom bowed his head and replied sincerely, "Master, I don't dare to say I do. I only read about it when I was young, and my understanding is shallow." Master Mok Chow smiled, his eyes twinkling with wisdom. He took a fragrant pastry, broke it in half, and asked, "What is this?" Tom looked at the broken pastry, feeling a vague sense of confusion. "Master, I don't know." Master Mok Chow asked again, "Do you call this a pastry or not?" Tom hesitated for a moment before answering, "Master, it can't be called a pastry anymore." Master Mok Chow said nothing, only smiled and called a young novice named Sam. "Come here. What do you call this?" Sam, with innocent eyes, replied, "It's a pastry." Master Mok Chow laughed heartily. "So, you can explain the doctrine of consciousness only too." Tom looked at his master, puzzled and full of questions. Master Mok Chow looked at his disciple and spoke slowly. "Tom, do you know why Sam can explain the doctrine of consciousness only?" Tom shook his head, his eyes filled with curiosity. "Because Sam sees the simplest truth. Whether the pastry is whole or broken, it is still a pastry. Just as truth, whether explained in flowery words or simple terms, remains the truth. You are too focused on form, on book knowledge, and forget the essence of things." Tom felt enlightened. He realized he had been too caught up in memorizing scriptures and neglected to observe and experience the truth in everyday life. Master Mok Chow looked at Tom with affectionate eyes. "Never lose your curiosity and your spirit of learning, Tom. Always keep your heart open to new things and remember that truth is all around us." Tom bowed to thank his master. From then on, he no longer felt insecure about his shallow knowledge. He began to view life with new eyes, seeking truth in every moment, every object, and realizing that truth is not far away, but right in the midst of life. The story of the pastry and truth from Master Mok Chow teaches us not to lose sight of simplicity. Truth is always around us in the simplest things. Don't be too focused on form or book knowledge and forget the essence of things. Always keep your heart open, be curious, eager to learn, and ready to embrace new things. Never feel insecure about your knowledge, for everyone has their own way of seeing and experiencing. Truth lies in life. Don't search for it far away, observe and experience it in every moment, in every object in life. 14. Finding truth in the impermanence of life. In the lush green mountains of Zhejiang, there was an unusual Zen master known as the Great Teacher. He was not only an ascetic monk but also a master of Zen, capable of imparting profound teachings through his cryptic verses. One misty morning, the Great Teacher gathered his disciples under an ancient Bodhi tree. Each one eagerly awaited the wise words of their venerable master. He looked deeply into the eyes of each disciple and began to speak in a deep, soothing voice. "Day by day with Buddha I dwell, morning to morning together we rise. If you wish to know where Buddha goes, keep your mind pure and clear." The verses flowed like a gentle breeze, bringing a sense of peace and contemplation. The disciples listened intently, trying to decipher the hidden meanings within each line. The Great Teacher smiled and explained, "Whether walking, standing, sitting, or lying down, one should follow Buddha like a shadow, sleeping and waking together. To know where Buddha goes, keep your mind pure." Among the disciples was a young man named Mintam. He often pondered the meaning of life and the path to enlightenment. The great teacher's words were like a beam of light, illuminating Mintam's mind, helping him understand the nature of Buddha's essence and the way to attain enlightenment. One day, Mintam approached the great teacher with a pensive look. "Master, I still don't fully understand the meaning of the verses you recited. Please enlighten me further." The great teacher gazed at Mintam with affection. He knew this young man had a soul yearning for truth and was ready to embark on the arduous path of spiritual practice. "Mintam," the great teacher said, "remember this verse carefully. At the head of the river, walking and riding, heaven and man cross the bridge. The incense burner does not keep its scent." Mintam listened attentively, trying to memorize every word. The great teacher explained, "This verse speaks of the impermanence of life and the unchanging nature of Buddha's essence. Our bodies are like a bridge and humans are its masters. The bridge may change, but the water flowing beneath it remains the same. That water represents Buddha's essence. It doesn't move, doesn't waver, and doesn't speak of coming or going." Mintam felt a sudden awakening. He realized that life is a constant flow, with everything changing, but Buddha's essence remains eternal. From that moment, Mintam dedicated himself to his spiritual practice with renewed vigor, no longer clinging to the fleeting things of the world. The story of the great teacher and Mintam reminds us of the impermanence of life and the importance of seeking truth. Each person has their own bridge, their own life to cross, but no matter how the bridge changes, the water of Buddha's essence always flows. Cherish each moment of life, continually learn and cultivate to achieve enlightenment. So, 15. Letting go to move forward. Once upon a time, there was a young man who was exceptionally talented and skilled in many areas, but he struggled with his studies. Feeling stuck and confused, he decided to seek advice from a renowned Zen master. After meeting the young man, the Zen master didn't say a word but invited him to a vegetarian meal. On the table, hundreds of different vegetarian dishes were beautifully presented, most of which the young man had never seen before. At first, he was eager to try all the dishes, and as a result, he ended up eating so much that he could hardly move. The Zen master gently asked, "How did those dishes taste?" The young man, rubbing his stomach, awkwardly replied, "There were so many flavors it's hard to describe. All I know is that I'm very full." The Zen master then asked, "Did you feel comfortable and satisfied?" The young man replied, "No, I feel very uncomfortable." The Zen master smiled and said nothing more. The next day, the master invited the young man to climb a mountain. As they reached halfway up the mountain, they found many sparkling gemstones scattered along the path. The young man, unable to hide his excitement, began picking up each stone and putting it in his bag. His bag quickly filled up with stones, becoming so heavy that he could hardly carry it, but he couldn't bring himself to throw any away. The Zen master looked at the young man and said, "You should let go of them. Otherwise, how can you reach the top of the mountain?" The young man looked up at the towering peak, suddenly understanding the issue. He immediately emptied his bag of stones and continued climbing the mountain, feeling light and energized. After bidding farewell to the Zen master a few years later, he finally achieved great success, earning high honors and becoming a renowned talent. The lesson from this story is profound. To gain something, you often have to let go of something else. In life, people sometimes have to learn to abandon unnecessary things to move forward. Only by letting go can we live comfortably and achieve great accomplishments, reaching the pinnacle of our lives. The story of the young man and the Zen master serves as an inspiring reminder of the value of letting go and focusing on what truly matters. The burdens of life, the things we hold on to out of greed or fear, can sometimes be the biggest obstacles in our path. When we learn to let go, we feel lighter, more at peace, and ready to embrace better things ahead. If you find these stories inspiring and they motivate you to take action, please comment 9. If not, comment 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time. 16. True wisdom lies not in ready answers but in self-discovery and understanding life. As the autumn breeze rustled through the bamboo grove behind the meditation hall, the distant chime of temple bells echoed. In the golden glow of the sunset, Master Yun Nian Dan Sheng, with a serene face resembling the smiling Buddha, slowly walked into the lecture hall. The disciples were already gathered, their eyes filled with anticipation. "Brothers and sisters," Dan Sheng began, his voice as soothing as a gentle stream, "today I want to tell you about an extraordinary person, someone with profound wisdom who could answer any question in the world." The disciples murmured among themselves, curiosity gleaming in their eyes. Dongshan, the most outstanding disciple, asked, "Master, who is this person? Does he have many books?" Dan Sheng smiled kindly. "He has no books at all, yet his knowledge is as vast as the ocean, never running dry." Dongshan was astonished. If he doesn't read books, where does he learn from? "He learns from life itself, from everything around him, from his own experiences," Dan Sheng replied. "He stays awake day and night, always alert, observing and contemplating." Dongshan, even more curious, asked, "Can I ask him a question?" "His answer is to give no answer," Dan Sheng said. Dongshan furrowed his brow. "If there's no question he can't answer, why doesn't he respond?" Dan Sheng looked at Dongshan, his eyes reflecting the stars. "Because not answering is the true answer." The hall fell silent as the disciples pondered the Master's words, trying to grasp their profound meaning. Suddenly, a young disciple spoke up. "Master, I still don't understand." Dan Sheng gazed at the young disciple with compassion. "My child, meditation is not about having ready answers but about self-exploration and discovery. The true effort in meditation is in the untold." The young disciple bowed his head, filled with gratitude. Dan Sheng continued, "The story of that special person is a metaphor. That person is each of us. Everyone has the ability to find their own answers, as long as we listen to our hearts and observe the world with awakened eyes." The autumn wind carried a faint scent of flowers as the sunset faded into the tranquil night. Master Yun Nian Dan Sheng's teachings resonated in the disciples' minds, like a lantern lighting their path of practice. This story teaches us that knowledge isn't just found in books. Life is a vast school, and every experience is a valuable lesson. Open your eyes, observe, and learn from everything around you. There is no absolute answer. Each person has their own path and perspective. Don't seek ready-made answers. Explore and find your own truth. Silence can be an answer. Sometimes, saying nothing is the best way to show understanding and wisdom. Learn to listen and observe to understand the essence of things. This story reminds us that meditation is not a religion, but a practice that helps people find peace and happiness within. By letting go of attachments and prejudices, we can open our minds, embrace new things, and discover the hidden potentials within ourselves. 17. Keeping the flame of Zen alive. One winter, snow blanketed the peaks of the Lushan Mountains. The wind howled through the ancient temples. In the warm meditation room of Quietong Temple, Zen Master Lin Huan, after 13 years of practice, suddenly felt an indescribable restlessness. He decided to ask his teacher, Zen Master Quietong, for permission to return to his hometown of Lan Trung. "Master, I would like to return home." Lin Huan bowed before Quietong, his voice a mixture of excitement and anxiety. Quietong looked at his disciple, his eyes filled with understanding and compassion. "Have you thought this through? The journey to Lan Trung is long and arduous, especially in this freezing weather." Lin Huan nodded resolutely. "I have decided, Master." Quietong smiled. "Before you go, pack your belongings and see me one last time. I have a few words for you." Lin Huan hurried to follow his master's instructions. He neatly arranged his robes, bowl, and scriptures, then returned to Quietong's meditation room. "Master, I am ready." Lin Huan stood before Quietong, his eyes full of anticipation. Quietong looked at Lin Huan and spoke slowly. "Come closer." Lin Huan stepped closer to Quietong. Quietong looked directly into Lin Huan's eyes, his voice deep and meaningful. "It's very cold. Take care of your health on your journey back." These seemingly simple words struck Lin Huan like a bolt of lightning. He suddenly realized his impulsiveness. 13 years of practice, and the Zen flame within him was not yet strong enough to withstand worldly temptations. His decision to return home was an escape, a retreat from the challenges of his spiritual path. Lin Huan knelt before Quietong, tears streaming down his face. "I was wrong, Master. I withdraw my request. I will stay here and continue my practice under your guidance." Quietong smiled and helped Lin Huan to his feet. "You've realized the most important thing. Taking care of your health is not just about protecting your body, but also keeping the Zen flame in your soul. Remember, the path of practice is long and challenging. Only with perseverance and patience can you achieve enlightenment." Lin Huan bowed before Quietong, his heart full of gratitude and determination. He understood that the essence of the Buddha's teachings, as taught by Quietong, was not in lofty lectures but in sincere care and encouragement. It was the compassionate heart, the bodhisattva spirit, always wishing the best for all beings. The story of Zen Master Lin Huan and Quietong reminds us of the importance of perseverance and patience on the path of practice. Sometimes we may feel tired, discouraged, and want to give up, but we must remember that difficulties and challenges are opportunities to train our minds and grow. As long as we hold on to our faith and determination, we will achieve our goals. Moreover, the story highlights the importance of care and encouragement from those around us. A sincere word, a loving gesture can give us strength and motivation on our path. Always cherish those who have and continue to accompany us. Finally, the story reminds us that the essence of the Buddha's teachings lies not in high doctrines, but in compassion and love. Always open your heart, share love, and help others. That is the true practice of the Buddha's teachings. 18. The courage to face challenges. Don't let excessive humility become a barrier. Once upon a time, there was a Zen master named Buddha Guang, renowned for his profound wisdom and boundless compassion. Among his disciples was a young monk named Ka Keet, who was always quiet and humble. Ka Keet had been at the monastery for 12 years but had never once inquired about the teachings. Whenever he met Buddha Guang, he would simply bow his head respectfully. "Master, I do not dare to trouble you," he would say. Buddha Guang smiled kindly but couldn't help but feel concerned. He knew Ka Keet was intelligent, but his excessive shyness could hinder his spiritual progress. Time passed, and 3 years later, Buddha Guang saw Ka Keet again and asked, "Have you encountered any difficulties in your practice? Why have you not come to ask me?" Ka Keet maintained his respectful demeanor. "I do not dare to trouble you, master." Buddha Guang sighed but remained patient. A year later, he invited Ka Keet to his meditation room for a chat, but Ka Keet still refused. "I do not wish to waste your precious time, master." Buddha Guang realized that Ka Keet was trapping himself in excessive humility. He decided to help his disciple overcome this psychological barrier. One day, Buddha Guang met Ka Keet on a small path in the monastery grounds and asked, "To learn the way of meditation, one must continually seek knowledge. Why do you not come to ask me?" Ka Keet repeated his familiar response, "I do not dare to trouble you, master." At this moment, Buddha Guang suddenly raised his voice. "Busy? Do you not know why I am busy?" Ka Keet was startled as if awakening from a dream. He realized he had been so focused on not bothering others that he had forgotten the true purpose of his practice, to seek enlightenment for himself. From that day on, Ka Keet changed completely. He was no longer shy, but actively sought his master's guidance on matters he did not understand. With Buddha Guang's diligent teaching, Ka Keet made rapid progress on his spiritual path. The story of Zen Master Buddha Guang and the young monk Ka Keet reminds us not to let excessive humility become a barrier to our personal growth. We must have the courage to face challenges and actively seek help when needed. In life, we cannot always think only of others and forget ourselves. We must love and care for ourselves to live a meaningful and happy life. Enlightenment does not come from avoiding reality, but from facing it with honesty and courage. Always be open to receiving valuable lessons from life and continually strive to improve yourself. This story is also a reminder of the importance of communication and sharing in life. Without Buddha Guang's proactive approach, Ka Keet might never have overcome his psychological barriers. 19. Letting go of worldly attachments to achieve true enlightenment. In the tranquil space of the Zen monastery, Master Hui Neng, the sixth patriarch, sat immersed in deep meditation. Suddenly, the quiet was interrupted by the arrival of a young monk dressed in a brown robe. It was Shen Hui, an eager and passionate seeker of truth. "Greetings, Master." Shen Hui bowed respectfully. "I have traveled from afar to seek your guidance." Master Hui Neng slowly opened his eyes, his gaze penetrating deeply into Shen Hui's soul. "Where have you come from?" Shen Hui smiled gently. "Master, I have come from nowhere." Master Hui Neng raised an eyebrow slightly. "If there is no coming or going, what is there to speak of?" Shen Hui replied enigmatically, "Master, I brought my life here." Without hesitation, Master Hui Neng asked, "Then you must understand the true nature of your life." Shen Hui responded confidently, "Only the physical body comes and goes. The spirit does not move back and forth." Upon hearing this, Master Hui Neng suddenly lifted his staff and struck Shen Hui forcefully. Shen Hui did not flinch, but instead asked loudly, "When you meditate, Master, do you see or not see?" Master Hui Neng struck him 3 more times and then asked, "Does it hurt?" Shen Hui replied calmly, "It hurts, but then it doesn't." Master Hui Neng laughed heartily. "What does pain or no pain matter?" After a moment of contemplation, Shen Hui said, "Only ordinary people feel resentment due to pain. Wood and stone do not feel pain." Master Hui Neng nodded in satisfaction. Indeed, life must transcend all worldly concepts, discarding all illusions and desires. Whether one sees or does not see, whether there is pain or no pain, what of it? If one cannot let go of the bondage of the physical and mental self, how can one speak of the true essence of life? Shen Hui, now enlightened, bowed deeply. Master Huineng spoke gently, his voice like a soothing stream that refreshed Shen Hui's soul. To cultivate oneself, one must first correct the mind. To correct the mind, one must be sincere in intent. To be sincere in intent, one must first acquire wisdom. Wisdom comes from understanding the nature of things. The exchange between Master Huineng and Shen Hui was not just a dialogue between two Zen masters, but a profound lesson on the true nature of life. Life is not what we see with our eyes, but the enlightenment of our true essence. To achieve this enlightenment, we must transcend all worldly concepts, letting go of all illusions and desires. Only by releasing the bonds of material attachments can we see the true nature of life. The story also reminds us of the importance of nurturing and purifying our minds. To have a pure heart, we must be mindful of our thoughts and actions. Only with a clear mind can we see the truth and attain enlightenment.
If you like this video, please comment 1. And if you don't, comment 2. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.
20. Enlightenment begins with yourself. Under the ancient Bodhi tree, Master Buddha Guang sat in silent meditation, attuned to the rhythm of the earth and sky. His gaze was as calm as an autumn lake, yet it held the entire universe within. Disciples from all over flocked to hear the teachings of the enlightened master. One day, a group of young monks arrived from afar, respectfully seeking an audience with him. The attendant hurried inside to announce their arrival. "Master, there are monks from the north here to see you," he said. Master Buddha Guang gently opened his eyes, a smile like the full moon spreading across his kind face. "Which master are they here to see?" he asked. The attendant was puzzled, unsure of the master's meaning, and stammered, "They wish to see you, master." Master Buddha Guang inquired again, "So, who is the master?" The question resonated like a temple bell, awakening the attendant's mind. He suddenly understood and quickly went to relay the message to the visitors. In the days that followed, the question, "Who is the master?" echoed throughout the monastery. When the master was eating, the attendant asked, "Master, have you eaten enough?" He would reply, "Who is eating?" When the master was sweeping the garden, sweat pouring down his face, a disciple expressed concern, "Master, you're working too hard." He would smile and ask, "Who is working hard?" Each question from the master opened a door to the listener's inner world. They realized that the master was not someone far away, but was within themselves. Everyone has the potential for enlightenment. One only needs to let go of attachments and return to their pure, true self. One day, a young monk bravely asked, "Master, I still don't understand who the true master is." Master Buddha Guang looked at his disciple with compassionate eyes and slowly replied, "A true master is someone who no longer distinguishes between self and others, right and wrong, good and bad. A master lives fully in each moment, unburdened by the past and untroubled by the future. A master is someone who has found themselves." The young monk felt a sudden clarity, bowed in gratitude, and quietly returned to his room to continue his journey of seeking the truth. The story of Master Buddha Guang and the question, "Who is the master?" became a valuable lesson for all who walk the path of practice. It reminds us that enlightenment is not something distant, but a return to our original nature. Let go of illusions and superficial pursuits to live a meaningful and complete life. Enlightenment is a journey of self-discovery. Don't look for the master elsewhere. Look within. Listen to the voice of your heart and live fully in each moment. Don't let thoughts of the past or worries about the future weigh on your mind. Cherish every present moment. Let go of attachments. Don't let fame, wealth, or beauty blind you. Return to your true essence, find peace within your soul. When the mind is calm, you will find true happiness. The story of Master Buddha Guang and the question, "Who is the Master?" is a profound reminder of the selfless nature of all things. When we let go of our small ego and stop clinging to material gains, we can truly be free and happy. Master Buddha Guang demonstrated through his own life that enlightenment is not a distant goal but a continuous journey of self-exploration. Always ask yourself, who is living this life? Who is feeling joy and sorrow? Who is loving and hating? When you find the answer, you will find yourself and discover true peace and happiness. 21. Revealing true self by letting go of attachments. In a serene monastery under the golden hue of the setting sun, monk Dao Wu, burdened with questions about enlightenment, sought guidance from the wise master Yun Yan. Respected elder brother, Dao Wu respectfully clasped his hands together, I have a long-standing question that remains unanswered. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva has 1,000 eyes and 1,000 hands. Which one is his true eye? Yun Yan gently smiled, his gaze deep and infinite. He slowly replied, Brother Dao Wu, last night when your pillow fell to the ground, did you open your eyes to find it? Dao Wu paused, recalling the previous night. In his sleep, his pillow had fallen, and instinctively his hand groped in the darkness, found the pillow, and he continued sleeping. No eyes were opened. Then, which eye did you use to pick up the pillow? Yun Yan continued. Dao Wu suddenly felt a realization dawn upon him. Ah, elder brother, I understand now. The whole body is filled with eyes. Yun Yan shook his head, still smiling. You've only understood a part of it. Dao Wu, even more curious, asked, Then what is the correct way to understand it? The whole body is an eye, Yun Yan affirmed. His words struck Dao Wu like a bolt of lightning. Everything around him became clear, and his doubts vanished like morning mist. The 1,000 eyes and 1,000 hands of Avalokiteshvara symbolize boundless compassion and concern for the suffering of all beings. Each of us possesses a true, enlightened mind, a wise eye that can see through all phenomena. Yet, we are often clouded by greed, anger, and ignorance, by our discriminatory thoughts. Dao Wu realized that this true mind is not somewhere far away, but within each of us, in every breath, in every heartbeat. By letting go of attachments and delusions, the true mind naturally reveals itself, illuminating every corner of our soul. Master Yun Yan looked at Dao Wu with eyes full of joy. He knew that Dao Wu had found his path to enlightenment. The story of monk Dao Wu and Master Yun Yan reminds us that the true self within each of us is a priceless treasure. It is not far away, but right inside us. By turning inward and listening to the voice of our heart, this true self will naturally reveal itself, lighting up our lives. Live with an open heart and a pure soul so that the true self can always shine, guiding us to the shores of happiness. 22. Love and compassion. The path to true happiness. Under the shade of an ancient Bodhi tree, 2 monks, A and B, sat in meditation, their gazes directed towards the winding river in the distance. Suddenly, Monk A noticed a small dog lying motionless by the roadside, its breathing faint like a flickering candle. Filled with compassion, Monk A gently picked up the little dog and placed it on an old straw mat. I will go and get some milk for this poor creature, Monk A said to Monk B, his voice full of sympathy. Monk B nodded, his eyes half closed as he continued chanting prayers for the dog's well-being. A short while later, Monk A returned with a warm bottle of milk in hand, but the scene before him left him stunned. The little dog had taken its last breath, lying still on the mat. Monk B was still chanting beside it, his voice steady like a flowing stream. Monk A set the milk down and looked at the little dog with sorrowful eyes. "Poor creature, you endured so much suffering in life and now you've passed away in solitude," Monk A murmured. Then he turned to Monk B and spoke, "Brother, the dog has passed away. Chanting prayers might no longer be effective." Monk B smiled kindly and replied, "Brother, the Buddhist teachings are infinitely powerful. Even if the dog can no longer hear us, our sincere intentions will help its soul find peace." Monk A pondered for a moment and then suddenly had an idea. He poured some milk into a small bowl and placed it in front of the dog, softly saying, "Little dog, you have endured much pain in this life. Drink this milk and may you be reborn into a loving family where you can enjoy a full and happy life." Monk B quietly observed, feeling a surge of indescribable emotion. Then he realized that meditation is not just about lofty teachings, but about love and empathy for all beings. Monk B folded his hands in front of his chest and said to Monk A, "Brother, you have taught me a valuable lesson. Meditation is a heart that loves, eyes that see the suffering of others, and hands ready to help those in need." Monk A smiled and responded, "Brother, you are too kind. We are all practitioners striving to bring a bit of peace and happiness to all beings." The story of the two monks and the little dog teaches us a profound lesson about love and compassion. Meditation is not just about reciting scriptures or learning advanced teachings. It is about empathy and sharing with those who are less fortunate. Let us open our hearts and love all beings, whether human or animal. This is the path to true happiness and peace. 23. The Salt. A young man came to learn from an old teacher. He was always pessimistic and complained about every difficulty. To him, life was filled with sorrow and studying was no more enjoyable. One day, when the young man complained about not making any progress despite his efforts, the teacher listened silently, then handed him a full spoon of salt and a small glass of water. "Put this spoonful of salt into the glass of water and drink it." The young man did as instructed and took a sip. The water was intensely salty. The teacher then led him to a nearby lake and poured another full spoon of salt into the water. "Now, taste the water from the lake." "The water in the lake tastes just fine, sir. It's not salty at all," the young man said after tasting a bit of the lake water. The teacher spoke slowly. "My son, everyone faces difficulties just like this spoonful of salt, but each person dissolves it in their own way. People with a broad and open mind are like a lake. The sorrows do not take away their joy and love for life. But those with a mind as small as a glass of water will turn their lives bitter and will never learn anything valuable for themselves." 24. Be grateful. Be grateful that you don't have everything you want. If you did, what would there be to look forward to? Be grateful for the things you still have to learn. If you knew everything, what would there be left to discover? Be grateful for the tough times. Without them, how could you grow? Be grateful for your imperfections. They give you opportunities to improve and better yourself. Be grateful for challenges. Without them, what would strengthen your character and spirit? Be grateful for your mistakes. They teach you valuable lessons. Be grateful when you're tired. It means you've made an effort. It's easy to be thankful for the good things, but life also gives us opportunities to appreciate the imperfect ones. Your mindset can transform negatives into positives. If you can be thankful for your troubles, they can become blessings in disguise. When someone is down, don't boast about your successes. Doing so only deepens their sorrow. Even if everything is going well for you, try to speak about your struggles to show empathy. When someone is happy, don't bring up your misfortunes. Happy people often find it hard to sympathize with those who are sad. So, even if things aren't going your way, strive to stay positive. Friends made during tough times may drift away during good times, as they may feel they no longer belong in your now improved life. They may not wish to associate with someone they see as above them, or they may feel insecure and inferior. If you hurt a friend when you're successful, it's hard to mend the relationship when you're not. People may think you're only reconnecting because you have no other options. They might not believe you've become more humble, but rather that you've hit rock bottom and are looking to rebuild old friendships. If you didn't value them then, they might not value you now. If you find these stories inspiring and they motivate you to take action, please comment 9. If not, comment 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time. 25. The Pain Relief Pill. In the self-reflection sections of our school yearbooks, there was always one simple yet challenging question. What makes you cry? Among the hundreds of answers like, when I'm sad, when I fail, when I get punished, that I had read, one response stood out to me. I cry when I realize I've made my loved ones cry. As children, boys often found joy in making girls cry. A well-placed foot to trip a classmate on the steps, a painful tug on a pigtail, or hiding a treasured box of crayons under the desk. The louder the girl cried, the more triumphant the boy felt. The more you could make someone cry, the stronger and braver you were considered. As we grew older, we began to realize that making others sad wasn't something to be proud of. However, sometimes our actions caused tears without us even realizing it. In our rush to get to school on time, we might splash through a puddle, dirtying the pristine white dress of a passing girl. We might stare and giggle at a differently abled person moving in an unusual way. Or we might eagerly gossip about unverified stories concerning someone else. These seemingly minor acts can cause silent tears that we never see. As adults, we learn more sophisticated ways to hurt others, often cloaked in subtlety rather than outright physical pranks. In a fit of anger, we might hurl a biting remark at a classmate who struggles academically or socially. Frustrated with our family's financial difficulties, we might lash out at our parents, venting all our grievances in hurtful words. Once our anger subsides, we might forget these words, but the wounds we inflict with our cruelty can take a long time to heal. Did you know that October 17th is the International Day for the Eradication of Poverty, a day when the world comes together to alleviate suffering? In hospitals around the globe, doctors are constantly seeking ways to reduce patient pain and shorten recovery times. In countless laboratories, pharmacists and chemists are on a quest to discover the most effective pain relief medication. Medical science continues to make great strides in alleviating the physical pain caused by illness. But what about the invisible pain caused by our carelessness or cruelty? How do we heal those wounds? I cry when I realize I've made my loved ones cry. I cry because I recognize that I have been thoughtless and cruel. Crying helps me not to repeat my mistakes. Crying helps transform each of our hearts into a pain relief pill, distancing us from our familiar, indifferent rhythms. 26. The Power of a Smile. Smile at each other. Smile at your wife. Smile at your husband. Smile at your children. Smile at each other. It doesn't matter who it is, and that will help you to grow up in greater love for each other. I wrote this from my own experience. One day, exhausted after a long day at work, I walked home with a heavy heart. Then, a stranger on the subway smiled at me, and instinctively I smiled back. Suddenly, all my fatigue seemed to melt away. I once came across a story by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Those who love literature are familiar with the author of The Little Prince. He was a pilot who fought against the Nazis in World War II. From those years, he wrote a story called The Smile. I don't know if it was autobiographical or fictional, but I believe it to be true. In the story, Saint-Exupéry was a prisoner, harshly treated, and believed he would be executed like many others. He wrote, "I became desperate. My hands shook as I pulled out a cigarette from my pocket, but I had no matches. Through the bars, I saw a guard. He didn't notice me, so I called out, 'Excuse me, do you have a light?' He shrugged and came closer. As he struck a match, our eyes met, and I instinctively smiled. I don't know why I did that. Perhaps because a smile is an easy way to make a connection. At that moment, it seemed as if a spark ignited between our souls, between our hearts. He didn't want to, but because I smiled, he smiled back. He lit my cigarette, came closer, looked directly into my eyes, and continued to smile. Now, before me was not a Nazi guard, but a human being. 'Do you have children?' he asked me. 'Yes,' I replied, and took out a photo of my family from my wallet. He then pulled out a picture of his children and started to talk about his hopes for them. Tears welled up in my eyes. I knew I was going to die and would never see my loved ones again. He cried too. Suddenly, without saying a word, he unlocked my cell and led me out. He silently escorted me out of the city, released me, and then turned back. My life was saved by a smile." After reading this story, I realized many things. I learned that beneath all the layers we create to protect ourselves, our dignity, and our positions, there is something truly precious that I call the soul. I believe that if your soul and my soul recognize each other, we have nothing to fear or hate. If you've ever experienced a moment of connection with someone through the power of a smile, I believe you'll agree that it's a small miracle, a wonderful gift we can give to each other. Mother Teresa felt this deeply in her life and offered this sincere advice. Smile at each other, smile at your wife, smile at your husband, smile at your children, smile at each other. It doesn't matter who it is, and that will help you to grow up in greater love for each other. 27. Everything is life. Some dreams will always remain just dreams no matter how hard we try. But because of them, we become stronger, love life more, and strive every day. Some promises will always remain just promises no matter how long we wait, because the person who made them has forgotten. But because of them, we learn to hope and anticipate. Some vows will always remain just vows if one day someone leaves. But because of them, we have experienced truly wonderful moments. Some pains will always remain painful when we cannot escape them, but because of them, we grow and mature. Some mistakes will always be mistakes, and we suffer when we realize our errors. But because of them, we suddenly realize the only true mistake is denying what our heart truly feels. Some chance encounters may simply be recognizing a face or even ignoring each other, but because of them, we realize that meeting 3 times by chance is fate. Some friends may simply be acquaintances, but because of them, we understand how amazing our close friends are. There is one person who might just be one in the world, but forever they are the whole world to someone, and because of that person, we have known love. Some searches may simply be searches, but because of them, we understand that love is about finding each other in a sea of people. And there will be those who achieve everything because they have dreams. They believe in promises. They have vows. They have grown from pain. They realize their mistakes. They have a true friend, and they have a love by their side. Everything is life. 28. The story of the apple tree. Once upon a time, there was a very large apple tree. A little boy loved to come and play around the tree every day. He would climb to the top, eat the apples, and take naps in the tree's shade. The boy loved the tree, and the tree loved the boy. Time passed, and the boy grew older. He didn't come to play with the tree as often anymore. One day, the boy came back to the tree with a sad look on his face. The tree was excited and said, "Come and play with me." "I'm not a kid anymore. I don't play around trees now. I want toys and need money to buy them." "I'm sorry, but I don't have any money. You can pick all my apples and sell them to get the money you need." The boy was so happy. He picked all the apples from the tree and left with joy. The tree was sad because the boy didn't come back. Years later, the boy, now a young man, returned, and the tree was thrilled. "Come and play with me," the tree said. "I don't have time to play. I have to work to support my family. We need a house to live in. Can you help me?" "I don't have a house, but you can cut off my branches to build your house." So, the young man cut off all the tree's branches and left happily. The tree was again left alone and sad. On a hot summer day, the young man, now middle-aged, returned. The tree was overjoyed. "Come and play with me," the tree said. "I'm getting old and sad. I want to go sailing to relax. Can you give me a boat? Use my trunk to build a boat. Then you can sail away and be happy." The man cut down the tree's trunk to make a boat. He went sailing and didn't return for a long time. Finally, after many years, the man returned, now much older. "I'm sorry, my boy, but I have nothing left to give you. No more apples." "That's okay. I don't have any teeth to eat them." "No more branches for you to climb on." "I'm too old to climb." "I have nothing left but my dying roots," the tree said with tears. "All I need is a place to rest. I'm so tired after all these years." "Old tree roots are the perfect place to lean on and rest. Come, sit down with me." The man sat down, and the tree was so happy it cried. This is the story of all of us. The tree represents our parents. When we are young, we love to play with them. As we grow older, we leave them and only come back when we need help. No matter what, our parents are always there for us, ready to give everything they have to make us happy. We must live in a way that honors our parents. 29. The sun in the cold night. In the far reaches of the southern hemisphere, a beautiful lighthouse was recently constructed on the southernmost shore. Its mission is to serve as the sole beacon during the long, freezing 6-month winter, guiding hundreds of ships carrying scientists, tourists, and local residents of this icy continent to safe harbor. It's worth noting that Antarctica has only 2 seasons, winter and summer, each lasting 6 months. During the winter, the entire continent is engulfed in 6 months of continuous darkness, while summer brings 6 months of unbroken daylight. The lighthouse was completed in the middle of summer, with nearly 3 months to go before the onset of winter. Naturally, there was no need to light it just yet, rendering it seemingly useless. The lighthouse felt despondent, as if nobody cared about it. It rarely interacted with its surroundings, becoming reclusive and distant. One day, a breeze swept by, wrapping itself around the lighthouse and whispering, "Why do you seem so sad?" "I hate it here. No one cares about me. I should be on a windy coast under starry skies." The lighthouse sobbed. "Don't be so down," the breeze replied. "There will come a time when you'll realize your true value." With a cheerful laugh, the breeze swirled away. The lighthouse stood quietly, gazing into the distance. Summer days slowly passed, and winter arrived, bringing with it a blanket of cold, dark nights. Now the lighthouse was lit, illuminating the vast southern sky. Everything around it marveled, "Oh, how bright! This is wonderful! Now we can easily find our way home." Explorers and Antarctic residents alike began to rely on the lighthouse as their guide for navigation. At that moment, the lighthouse understood its true worth, just as the breeze had said. It shone its light with all its might, pushing away the darkness and illuminating everything around it. The lighthouse felt immensely proud. One day, the breeze returned, laughing joyfully as it danced around the lighthouse. "Look at me now," the lighthouse said. "I truly matter to everyone now." The breeze laughed and said, "See, now you are the sun in the cold night." Then the breeze whisked away. The lighthouse felt incredibly happy, and it shouted after the breeze, "I am the sun in the cold night."
If you like this video, please comment 1. And if you don't, comment 2. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.
30. Forgive forever. Lisa sat on the floor with an old box in front of her. Inside the box was a piece of graph paper, and behind those squares lay a story. "How many times must you forgive your siblings?" the teacher asked. Then she read aloud the answer for the whole class to hear. 70 times 7. Lisa tugged at her younger brother Brent's sleeve. "How many times is that?" Brent wrote the number 490 in the corner of Lisa's notebook. Brent was small, with narrow shoulders, short arms, oversized glasses, and messy hair. Despite his appearance, his musical talent earned him the admiration of all his peers. He had been playing the piano since he was 4, the clarinet since he was 7, and now he was mastering the organ. Lisa was only better than her brother at one thing: basketball. The siblings often played together after school. Although Brent was small and weak, he never refused to play because it was Lisa's only joy amid her poor grades. After school, the two siblings ran to the basketball court. During a game, Lisa's elbow accidentally hit Brent's chin as she scored. She felt triumphant until she saw Brent holding his chin. "Are you okay? I didn't mean to." "It's fine. I forgive you," Brent smiled. "We need to forgive 490 times, and this is 1, so there are only 489 times left." Lisa laughed. If she remembered everything she had done to Brent, 490 times would have been used up long ago. The next day, they played Battleship on paper. Afraid of losing, Lisa peeked at Brent's paper and easily won. "You cheated," Brent said, eyeing Lisa suspiciously. Lisa blushed. "I'm sorry." "It's okay, I forgive you," Brent smiled slightly. "So that's only 488 times left, right?" Brent's generosity moved Lisa. That night, she created a chart with 490 squares. "We'll use this to track the times I'm wrong and you forgive me. Each time, I'll cross off a square." She marked off 2 squares as she spoke and then stuck the chart on the wall. Lisa had many opportunities to mark the chart. Each time she realized her mistake, she sincerely apologized. And so it went. Square 211. Lisa hid Brent's English book, and he got a 0. Square 394. Lisa lost Brent's room key. Square 417. Lisa used too much bleach and ruined Brent's shirt. Square 489. Lisa borrowed Brent's bike and crashed it into a tree. Square 490. Lisa broke Brent's favorite watermelon-shaped cup. "That's it," Lisa declared. "I won't wrong you anymore." Brent just smiled. "Sure, sure." But then there was the 491st time. Brent was a music student and had been selected to perform at a grand concert in New York, a dream come true. The organizers called to confirm the performance date, but Brent wasn't home. Lisa took the call. 2 p.m. on the 10th. Lisa thought she could remember it, so she didn't write it down. "Brent, when is your performance?" Mom asked. "I don't know. They haven't called yet," Brent replied. Lisa hesitated before stammering. "Oh, what's today's date?" "The 12th. "Why?" Lisa burst into tears. "The performance. 2 p.m. on the 10th. They called last week." Brent sat quietly, doubting what he was hearing. "Does that mean the performance is over?" Brent asked. Lisa nodded. Brent left the room without another word. Lisa returned to her room and cried bitterly. She had destroyed her brother's dream and disappointed the entire family. That night, she packed her things and secretly left home, leaving a note asking everyone not to worry. Lisa moved to Boston and rented a place there. Her parents wrote many letters urging her to come home, but she never replied. "I've hurt Brent. I'll never go back," she thought, with the immaturity of a 19-year-old. Much later, she ran into an old neighbor, Mrs. Nelson. "I'm so sorry about Brent," Mrs. Nelson began. "What do you mean?" Lisa asked, confused. Mrs. Nelson quickly realized Lisa didn't know. She told her everything. A speeding car, Brent rushed to the hospital, doctors doing their best, but Brent didn't make it. That very afternoon, Lisa returned home. She sat silently before the box. She didn't see the old chart filled with crossed-out squares, but instead found a large piece of paper. "Dear Lisa, I didn't want to count the times I forgave you, but you insisted. If you want to keep counting, here's a new chart I made for you. Love, Brent." On the back was a chart like the one Lisa had made as a child, with many squares. But only the first square was marked, with a red pen note beside it. 490 first time. Forgive, forever. 31. Useful and useless. Once upon a time, the youngest son of King Gujian was imprisoned by the king of Chu for committing murder. At that time, there was a highly revered seer named Zhuang Sheng in the kingdom of Chu, whom the king greatly respected. Upon learning this, Gujian wrote a letter and included 100 pieces of silver, then called his youngest son and said, "Take this letter and the silver to Zhuang Sheng's house and ask him to help save your brother." The eldest son overheard this and insisted on taking the task himself, arguing that it was his duty as the older brother. Gujian was firm in his decision, but his wife pleaded on behalf of their eldest son, insisting that he be allowed to go. Gujian, though frustrated, reluctantly agreed because of his wife's persistence. So, the eldest son took the letter and the silver to Zhuang Sheng's house. After receiving the letter and the silver, Zhuang Sheng advised the eldest son, "Go home and never return here, and do not ask how your brother will be saved." The eldest son, determined to see how Zhuang Sheng would resolve the situation, stayed and attempted to bribe officials in the Chu court with the silver. Meanwhile, Zhuang Sheng secretly met with the king of Chu and said, "Your Majesty, an ill omen has appeared in the Chu kingdom." The king asked, "What should we do to get rid of it?" Zhuang Sheng replied, "Show mercy." The king, taking his advice, issued a decree to pardon the prisoners. Hearing this news, the eldest son of Gujian suspected Zhuang Sheng and returned to his house. As soon as he arrived, Zhuang Sheng asked, "Why have you not left yet?" The eldest son inquired, "Is it true that the king is going to pardon the prisoners?" Zhuang Sheng, well aware of the ways of the world, told him, "Take your silver and leave." The eldest son was secretly pleased, thinking he had succeeded in his mission without losing the silver. He quickly retrieved the silver and hurried home. After this, Zhuang Sheng again went to see the king of Chu and said, "Your Majesty, there are rumors that you are pardoning the prisoners because of Gujian's wealth. People say it's because his son bribed you." The king, angered by this, immediately ordered the execution of Gujian's youngest son. On the day of the funeral, Gujian's wife and 2 sons wept bitterly, but Gujian, though grieving inwardly, reflected, "I am not surprised. I knew this would happen. My eldest son grew up with me, endured hardships with me, while my youngest has never known hardship, living a life of indulgence. Alas, the eldest's greed caused this tragedy. If the youngest had gone, he wouldn't have hesitated to spend the silver, and our family would still be together." 32. Listening and the stone. A wealthy man was driving his expensive car down the street at a good speed. From a distance, he saw a child dart out from between the parked cars on the side. He slowed down, but as his car passed where he had seen the child, there was no one there. Suddenly, he heard a stone hit his car door. He immediately slammed on the brakes and circled back to where the stone had been thrown. Sure enough, there was a child standing between the parked cars. Jumping out of the car without a second thought, he grabbed the child, pinning him against a nearby vehicle, and yelled, "What the heck are you doing?" Anger surged through him as he continued, "This car is brand new and you're going to pay a lot for that stone." "Please, sir, I'm sorry. I didn't know what else to do," the boy pleaded. "I threw the stone because I waved for help, but no one stopped." Tears streamed down his face as he pointed to the sidewalk. "That's my brother," the boy said. "His wheelchair rolled off the curb and he fell out. I can't lift him back up." Sobbing, the boy begged, "Please help me get him back into his wheelchair. He's hurt and he's too heavy for me." Moving to where the boy's brother had fallen, the man tried to swallow the lump in his throat. He lifted the boy back into his wheelchair, awkwardly trying to clean him up and check if he was okay. "Thank you so much, sir. You're very kind," the child said with a grateful look as he pushed his brother away. The man watched them go, standing there for a long time before slowly walking back to his car. The short distance seemed like miles. Later, despite multiple attempts to have the dent on his car repaired, the man kept it as a reminder for the rest of his life. Sometimes you don't take the time to listen until a stone is thrown at you. What will you choose, to listen or to wait for a stone? 33. Friendship. Two friends were walking along a quiet road. At one point, they got into a heated argument, and one of them couldn't control his temper and slapped his friend in the face. The one who got slapped felt hurt but didn't say a word. Instead, he wrote in the sand, "Today, my best friend slapped me in the face." They continued walking until they came across a river, where they decided to take a swim. Unfortunately, the friend who had been slapped got a cramp and almost drowned, but was saved by his friend. After recovering from the scare, he wrote on a stone, "Today, my best friend saved my life." Curious, the friend who had slapped and then saved him asked, "Why did you write in the sand when I hurt you, but now you write on a stone?" Smiling, the other friend replied, "When someone hurts us, we should write it in the sand where the winds of forgiveness can erase it away. But when someone does something significant for us, we should engrave it on stone where no wind can ever erase it." Learn to write in the sand and on stone. If you find these stories inspiring and they motivate you to take action, please comment 9. If not, comment 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.